So Kimi Antonelli ended up making it 3 out of 3 wins in the last 3 races and is currently leading the championship by 20 points. But what if I told you that what Kimi Antonelli achieved in Miami is something that's going to scare a lot of his rivals? Let me explain. So Kimi Antonelli, he is currently leading the championship by 20 points from George Russell. Out of the 4 races this season, he's won 3 of them, and he has been the surprise of the season. Not many would have predicted Kimi Antonelli to start the season on this note and be the team leader of sorts for Mercedes. But here we are. Before the race in Miami, there were still a lot of doubts. Kimi Antonelli, he had won the last 2 races, but the first race in China, he was a bit lucky because George got a bit compromised in qualifying. But then came the race in Japan, and once again, George was a bit unlucky due to the safety car timing, and that helped Kimi win that one. So in both the races that he had won before this one, there was a certain level of luck involved. Then came the race in Miami, and here you cannot really point a finger at fortune playing the role. This was entirely down to the driver, and this is essentially why this particular race, it has led to a lot of drivers scratching their heads, and it is probably a scary aspect for almost everyone involved. Now in this video, I'll explain it a bit more. I'll divide it into 3 parts. The first part is what he was able to achieve. Second part is why that is scary. The third part is going to be the question marks, because there are still a lot of them. So let's begin, and first let's talk about what he was able to achieve. Now when we talk about Kimi's race week in Miami, the first thing that he was able to achieve was he was up against the likes of Max Verstappen, who started alongside him on the front row. Then he was up against Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris, who were on the second row. From that point onward, using just his racecraft and his ability to soak the pressure, Kimi Antonelli would end up winning. And this was essentially the kind of performance where Kimi Antonelli was up against arguably one of the greatest drivers ever in Max Verstappen, arguably one of the better talents to ever race in F1 in Charles Leclerc, and the reigning champion in Lando Norris. This was the caliber of talent that he was up against as he fought for the race win, and he beat all of them. And he did so in his own manner, with keeping things clean and more often than not just soaking the pressure and making the right moves at the right time. This was not a drive of a rookie or someone who's just 19 years of age. This was the drive of a veteran and an all-round package, and that is scary. To add to this, the other aspect of the Miami Grand Prix was the complete and utter obliteration of George Russell. When the checkered flag fell, George Russell was more than 40 seconds behind Kimi Antonelli. And this includes the fact that we had a safety car and a restart after around 10 laps. So in a straightforward race, Kimi Antonelli obliterated an elite talent in George Russell. Now George Russell, in my view, if you asked me at the start of the 2026 season, who were my top 3 drivers in F1, I would have picked Max Verstappen, George Russell and Charles Leclerc. These were going to be my top 3 drivers. And the reason behind it is almost 7 to 8 years of hard work and consistently proving himself. Yet in Miami, George had no answer for this 19-year-old kid. Granted, this is not one of his favorite tracks. Granted, it is a bit of a bogey track as well. But even if it is a bogey track, you should be well within reach. You shouldn't be getting decimated and be more than half a second slower than your teammate, especially since you are supposed to be the team leader. That should not be happening. The fact that this happened, the fact that Kimi Antonelli can do this to a George Russell, this should open a lot of eyes, and this should make people notice that, okay, this might be a special talent. Now let's come to the scary bit. How is a 19-year-old kid who is just in his second year of racing in Formula 1, how is he able to keep calm, make sure he doesn't make any errors, and make sure that he capitalizes on the car he has under him? How is he able to do that? More importantly, how is he able to extract such impressive pace when a talent like George Russell is unable to do so? This is a serious question that needs to be asked, and this is a question that a lot of drivers on the current grid would be asking. Kimi Antonelli, by the way he has driven in the Miami Grand Prix, what he has done is he has proven that he's too far ahead when it comes to the learning curve. Everyone knew Kimi was a brilliant talent. Everyone knew that he was fast. And given the right car, everyone knew that he was eventually going to win races. But winning this kind of race, where he was consistently under pressure, consistently fighting off the likes of Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris, I don't think many people would have predicted that he would be executing this level of performance this early in his career. What he is showing right now is he's showing that he is too far ahead on the learning curve, and he's showing signs of improvements as well. If you look at his 3 races, the 3 wins that he's had, the first win, slightly circumstantial, but he didn't really make any errors. The second win, again, he had blistering pace, but he was lucky with the safety car timing. This race, you cannot fault in any which way. This was an outright win and outright flawless win on Sunday. We haven't had teenagers do this, and there is also a reality here. At 19, you don't really have those experiences in your life behind you, and you don't really have the maturity that comes with it. You're not really battle hardened. You don't really have the experience to know how to react in certain situations. All these things are going to come with time. And once that knowledge bank fills, he's only going to improve and get better. And that is the scary aspect. If he's already this good, how much better can he get? I think a lot of fans and a lot of drivers and team bosses are going to look at Kimi and wonder, what have you got here? What is he going to do? And I think a lot of people realized in Miami this weekend that, okay, he's not only special, but he's too far ahead on the learning curve. So yeah, that's a scary, scary prospect. Now, finally, that brings us to the more important question, which is he ready to win the championship? Is he the favorite to win the championship already? Well, if you look at the points tally and if you look at how the first 4 races have gone, the pendulum has swung in his favor. He's currently 20 points ahead of George Russell and he has won the last 3 races. This is an informed driver. Plus, the car under him is only going to get better. So yeah, Mercedes is going to be a title contending machinery for sure. But if that is the case, is Kimi Antonelli the favorite or even a contender for the title? I think if you have to ask the question right now, I'd say the answer is we don't know that. I think we have to wait at least until mid-season to make such a call. Kimi is still untested. Until now, if we talk about Kimi, he's had it easy. Even if we talk about a Max Verstappen, for instance, when he came into F1, he came in and he joined Toro Rosso. He spent his first year slogging in the midfield and in the trenches. Only then, in the second year, he was considered worthy for the Red Bull seat. Kimi Antonelli has not done that. He's not really slogged it out in the midfield. Granted, there were parts of the 2025 season where you can say that he was driving in the midfield, but it's not similar to what a Max did when he was in the trenches. Or even for that matter, a Lewis Hamilton. When Lewis Hamilton joined Formula 1, he spent a lot of time in the junior categories and he really honed his skills. Kimi hasn't done that. He has been put in a Mercedes in his first year in F1, and by the second year, he is driving the fastest car on the grid. So things have come a bit easier. The wins have been easier. The podiums have been easier. The pole positions have been easier. What happens when things get tough? What happens when George starts beating him? What happens when he has a couple of reliability issues and he loses the championship lead? What happens when he has to focus on the championship? For now, he hasn't really had to focus on the championship. When he started the season, the talk of Kimi fighting for the championship, it was not even on the table. When he won his very first race in China, no one really talked about him being a title contender. But here we are in the 4th race of the season and he's 20 points ahead of George Russell. That is going to bring a different kind of pressure, and a pressure under which arguably Oscar Piastri capitulated in 2025. So we know that things can go wrong for drivers who are fighting for the title for the very first time. To add to this, Kimi is yet to have a rival on the current grid. Until now, everyone has been very chummy with him. Everyone treats him as a kid. No one has treated him as a grown-up, as an equal, as someone who is fighting for the title. Everyone has been very complimentary and given him his flowers. But all of them are there to win. None of them are there just to be complimentary to Kimi. And at some point, he is going to be treated like a rival. And at that point, there are going to be moments where he would be left with the bloody nose. He had Max Verstappen right alongside him on the front row. Ideally, if things had not unraveled, we could have potentially seen a battle between Kimi and Max for the win. And Max is a more ruthless beast compared to almost everyone on the grid. How would Kimi have reacted in that case? We don't know that. But there are going to be moments in 2026 where we're going to see it. Then there's also the element of a Lando Norris, a reigning champion. McLaren is a car that is on the rise and it is only going to get better. How is Kimi going to battle it out against a reigning champion? There's Charles Leclerc as well. There's George Russell, who should not be counted out. A lot of these drivers are going to start playing the mind games. They're going to start treating him as an equal. And once that happens, how is a teenager who has had it easy, how is he going to react? So yes, when it comes to anointing Kimi as a championship favorite or a championship contender, I think there are still a lot of questions and we have to wait before we jump to conclusions. So yeah, that's the entire video. I'm in awe of what Kimi has achieved during the Miami Grand Prix. And yeah, does it mean I back him to win the championship? Well, if you've seen the podcast that I do, on that one, I predicted that Kimi Antonelli is going to win the championship. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. So yes, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. If you reached the end of it, by the way, I hope I was able to add value. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.